Right, we're going to go ahead and start, and Kent will join us a few minutes into the meeting. Welcome to the Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, Garrison Board of Education regular workshop meeting. Steve, would you call the roll, please?
Jocelyn Apicella. Here. David Gilbert.
Here.
Jennifer Harrington Wilson. Here. Dan Jasnow.
Here.
Courtney McCarthy.
Here.
Ken Schott. Sarah Tormey.
Here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have any recommended changes to this evening's agenda as presented? And we had a couple of last minute additions, including a policy, the first read of a policy that we put on today. Changes, right? Be it resolved, Board of Education of the Garrison Union Preschool District hereby accept the agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. And go ahead and move on to our special recognition. Tonight we have our annual NISMA Spotlight. I'm going to invite Mr. Barona to share his students' work.
First of all, let me say how proud I am of all the students. We actually had, I think, just over 20 students participate, which for my time here, that was a record number for us. We've built it up every year, a few more. I think the first year we might have had 6 or 7 students participate. NISMA is an organization of educators. NISMA is not I have to stress, it's not a contest. It's just somewhere you prepare to play. There's a set amount of scales you have to prepare. There's a repertoire that you have to work off of. It's not a huge repertoire, so there's a standard and they're graded. And when they go into the room, it's an educator and themselves, and they're playing by themselves. So it can be daunting for some students. Some just rise to the occasions. Others, they get nervous before it, which is normal. If you didn't get nervous, I get nervous before. I'm a professional musician, and I still get nervous till the guitar gets in my hand and all sort of melts away. And what I hope they learn is it's the preparation that gets you through that every time. Even as long as I've been a professional musician and an educator, it's really the preparation that gets you through it. And sometimes even in my profession, when I perform places, sometimes I am the right person for the job. Sometimes maybe there's someone that's a little better than me out there, but what I do know is that if I over prepare, so they might think I'm the most qualified person for the job, but preparation is everything. We work on the scales as the years go on. We work on the pieces, and I hope they learn through my experience. I show them skills how to prepare, but every student's a little different. You sort of have to tailor fit it to who they are and how they learn. But the thing that is the same is how you organize your material. And most important to me is the connection that's made with music. And I think the preparation that meets an attainable goal is what prepares them to connect to the music. We don't always want to be chasing technique. There's levels to NISMA. I want them to be able, it's just beyond their abilities, but they rise up to it. And then we get to that point and we go to the next level and the next level. But most important, I hope they connect to the music. And our first performer is Perla Flores, and she's playing a Bach piece called Minuet. Our next piece is also a Bach piece, a minuet, but a different minuet. We have Akari Kawabata and Emmy Choi, and they didn't perform as a duo in NISMA, but it just so happened they played the same piece. Like I said, there's a repertoire. So we're putting them together for the first time. They've only played this together a handful of times, but they played it a bunch of times as a solo. And the whole point of music is to play with others, right? That's where you make the connection. But you can make the connection as a solo piece, but the real fun is playing with other people. But I have to state, if the music can stand on its own with just one instrument or two instruments, when you put it together with many instruments, it's that much better when everything lines up. And most important, when the students, and even myself as an adult, being in the moment and connecting can be tough when you're playing something or you're trying to perform on any level. You know, look at this like baseball. Like in a way, they're at the plate right now, but the bat. The only difference is they're up here for much longer than, you know, a handful of pitches, right? And it also, you know, it's almost sometimes it's like being on a little bit of a tightrope. But we just perform and we connect and we keep on moving. So our next piece is called Night Song. It's by Haydn. So NISMA, not all of it, for the most part, it's classical based. So if you've been to our concerts, we really do not do a whole bunch of classical music, quote unquote. We stick to jazz, rock, Latin, more popular music. I mean, you know, what's considered current is up for debate because some rock and roll has been around for a long time right now. But classical is a great foundation, you know, and but you know, what's the difference between classical and rock? It's melodies, chord changes, scales, and so on. But these are classic melodies and they're great to learn. Ready, lady? Right. Playing music, even, so these guys have only been playing, some of them only a couple years at this point, you know. But I can say, even in moments where I'm connecting to them and they're connecting to me, it's not me totally guiding them. When you hear the dynamics, that's when I know the student is engaged and he's with me, as opposed to being, locked into the notes and looking at the music and sort of blocking everything out. So I'm having fun playing actually because it's music and it's just rhythms and when we're all lining up, even as long as I've been playing, I connect to it and I'm enjoying myself right now, and they are too. Our last song is another song called Minuet. They were waltzes back in the day. It was basically a dance. That's why there's so many pieces called Minuet. And that's the whole point of music. Is most music was meant to make you dance. And what is there to dancing? A good dancer is knowing where the pulse is, where to subdivide the beat. I know I know I'm a horrible dancer technically, but I know I don't look ridiculous on the dance floor because I know where the beat is and I know how to subdivide it. So, and that's a connection right there. And it's the same with music. So we're going to play another Minuet by Jay Fox.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And thank you, parents, for bringing your students in. That was wonderful to hear. Congratulations to all of our participants on their fantastic performance in sports. You're all welcome to stay for the rest of our executive meeting. You can entertain. I am gonna, and then Matt, you're here. You don't want to stay? You're sleeping though? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna move on board recognitions. We have a special recognition this evening for Ms. Crystal Ford. Jocelyn, did you want to read this or?
Let me start. And I
Okay.
Is that okay? Sure. Yeah.
So, well, I'm gonna give Jocelyn credit though. This was her idea to recognize, Crystal Ford really started as a pathway to head the green ribbon. Without her, persistence and tireless advocacy for climate change, and teaching students about it, spreading awareness within the community, everything from the heating system we have as part of the capital project, through having an environmental education teacher, getting kids in the forest. She was a big force. I know there's a lot of people who've read throughout the years, but she's been a big recent force in. So I think it's great.
Thanks for agreeing to, honor her. She's not here anymore. She moved, but her children are in 6th and 4th, right? Okay. And you worked with her, and you worked with her. The 4 of us have been able to work with her, and she's a parent that, she's done a lot, and she led the Phillipstown Climate Smart Task Force.
She also led our PTA, which is.
She led the
thankless
PTA,
job.
yeah, like pre-pandemic, and got everybody reusable water bottles. And when we did hot lunch back in the day, she made us all get like compostable everything. And she started the Youth Climate Summit with pizza. Like probably when you were there, maybe. Anyway, she was small. It first started with just Garrison, and then she kind of expanded a little bit to invite other schools. But I just think it's nice to recognize that she was very fierce in the beginning. Now we have an amazing Youth Climate Summit, the Green Ribbon Award, and other things going on. That having parents and community members like that is very important.
So let me just add to that, that every community should be lucky enough to have somebody like Crystal, who's a really classical community activist. In the end, she got tired of the kind of hustle and bustle of urban Phillipstown and meet the Adirondacks, but
The traffic was too much.
Go strip. So we've all seen the letter. We've drafted it. Dusty put it on formal. It's in my pocket. Oh, I expect to have everyone sign this.
Yeah, we'll sign it and then we'll send it to the link. She can watch this 3-minute.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You should watch the poll. Why
She
not?
might, who knows? Yeah, some people.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for bringing it forward. And a big thank you to Crystal. Okay, I'm going to move on to board communications and presentations. First up, we have a discussion and approval to change the 2024 organizational meeting date. So I put this on here because we are sending a contingent of our administrators down to Washington, D.C. the week our reorg meeting is scheduled for to receive the Green Ribbon Award, including our superintendent, our new incoming superintendent. Dr. Shaw is over there. That's right. And we will need him back in order to do the reorg meeting, but he's receiving an award on Wednesday, so he can't be here for the meeting. So we're going to move the meeting to Thursday at 7 p.m. I think everyone has applied the affirmative and has this on their calendars now. Dan, I believe you have to join remotely for that one, which is fine. You too. We have 2 remotes
We should make note of that.
Information.
You'll need to, yeah, disclose where you are, be in a public space, all of that. Yeah, hotel lobbies are great for school board meetings. So, great, but that'll be our new date for it. Thank you all for agreeing to make that change so that our district can officially receive the award on Wednesday. So I'm going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the change of date for the annual organizational meeting from July 10th, 2024 to July 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The board further directs the district clerk to publicly notice the change to the media and through the district's communication system. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the American Rescue Plan grant funding revision and turn this over to Joe Jimmick for his presentation.
Thank you. What we're here to talk about is the American Rescue Plan grant. We have a grant that we applied for a couple of years ago, and it is nearing the end of the grant cycle. It actually runs until September 30th. And we have a total allocation of $234,000. 20% was restricted towards learning loss and enrichment activities. And all funding has to be allocated and committed by the end of September. So we have towards learning loss and enrichment. We have after-school tutoring that are in math, ELA, and music. And we also have a summer enrichment program that this is the third summer now that we're doing it. And all told, that will amount to around $55,000, which is above the 20% requirement. And that's open to all students, and we do positive outreach to students that we think are the most effective, and it's monitored with our metric systems that we use for all the rest of our learning activities. So originally we had $69,000 dedicated towards upgrading the servery and the food service equipment. And this was in the hopes of partnering with another school district for them to manufacture the food and maintain all the requirements that are needed for a school lunch program. And this site would merely serve it and keep things warm or cold. And so there was hot and cold boxes, as well as oven and some other things to move food appropriately. But we didn't get a good partner with any of our neighboring school districts, so we're not able to do that. And since we have to commit all the funds before the end of September, we have to come up with different ideas. So this was in the original grant, and it has been purchased. Originally was estimated for $60,000. It came in just under that. And the existing plow truck that we have is beyond its life because of rust. So that was purchased, and it is in-house, and it's ready for when we have the snowfall. We did have some shelving that's in the primary grades, and it's primarily for books, as well as the kids' coats and their book bags and all that, and that is in place in the elementary, and you'll see them as you go through the classrooms. We spent $70,000 for that. So there's $92,000 that is remaining, and it needs to be spent before the end of September. And we're recommending that we purchase 2 hybrid minivans for transportation and 1 electric zero-turn mower. We'll get into why we think that's a good answer. And one of the other things that's good about this is grants like this that don't recur it's good to spend them on non-recurring expenses. So we don't buy vehicles very often. And so if we did buy it with another method, we would most likely need to include it as budget or borrow for it. This way, we can buy these and not have to impact the budget in subsequent budgets. So this is kind of the state of the activities that we have right now with the vehicles. So we've got one caravan that's in the parking lot that we can't drive because it has rust holes that aren't allowing it to pass the passenger service. And you can see it if you go out to the back by the building. It sits there because we really can't use it. And then we have two caravans that have both had multiple transmission replacements. And then one had the camshafts had to be replaced in it, and that was like a $5,000 plus dollar repair. And we have one 2019 Caravan, which is in good service, and one 2011 Ford E-Series van in service. So we want to put add two hybrid vans to our fleet. Then we would essentially retire the one that obviously we can't use the other ones as long as they will last, and when they're done, we have the vehicles that we need. And then we have a zero-turn mower, and with the unit ventilators that we currently have that pull in so much air on the ground level, when we drive the zero-turn mower next to the classrooms, the exhaust gets in the classrooms and people smell it and complain. So what we think that is a good use of the rest of the funds is an electric zero-turn mower that we can use while class is in session, and it's also quieter, so it won't disrupt learning. So I think that's a good use of the remaining funds. That would use up the entire allocation, which is what we would want to do and what would recommend, because you don't want to leave anything over the. Any questions?
Can I just ask, what kind of minivans are you purchasing and are they new?
Yeah, there would be new. We're looking at Dodge, or not Dodge, Toyota Sienna minivans.
So can I take you car shopping with me next time? The pricing you're getting is probably very good.
You put them through a state bid.
Yeah, so right, so far I have
Access to that.
I have done a state bid. I haven't awarded it, but I have done a state bid for these minivans, and to the specification that we asked for, which was kind of a basic specification, they are just under $40,000 a piece. So that's the price. It's they say it's 10% off the list. So if that still holds by the time the SED tells me that this provision is approved, I'll award it. Otherwise, we'll bid it out again.
Good.
Right, Jocelyn, then
Okay, so I like the adjustments, but I do note that there's 70,000 that was gonna go to food service, and we've had a long history of trying to get lunch service here. So one question is, no, just the only thing is, I hope this board can consider it as we keep moving forward in the next year. Why don't we just fund a lunch program somehow? Because like you said, you want to put money into something that is a one-time purchase. It's a good use of these funds. Lunch is not a one-time purchase. So let's consider building it into the budget or doing something, because it's been something that many parents, probably faculty, and I know students would like. So I appreciate that it was in there, but now that it's gone again, I hope we as a board consider it.
there might be something to set up like a committee to explore the costs, like in conjunction with, and what is needed, because there's gotta be construction.
There's so many things, and maybe the next year's budget advisory committee.
But we've had, that sounds like so much.
I
time.
agree.
I love that.
Nope, I'm done. We have that money that's always in school lunch fund. We use it.
We found a use for it.
Yes, that the school lunch fund is being reduced this year. the outstanding balance,
3,600.
right, to pay for the pizza for the students that can't afford it. So we
As it should be used.
did give permission or we had suggested that as a use to our auditors, and that's a fine idea. So
Great.
so it will be significantly reduced this year, if not eliminated.
I'm sure there will be many parents, thank you, that's a good use, and then there's many parents who are always very interested.
I think we should remember that. That is exciting.
Was your question?
It was actually related.
Oh.
So I think in facilities, Carl, you talked a little bit, a facilities committee meeting, you talked a little bit about what you had done to try and, see if this was a feasible option. I wonder if you could just, because there's so much interest in this, if you could just recount a little bit, sort of the various options you tried to run down.
Sure. Yes, but when I arrived here almost 4 years ago now, it was something that people were interested in. And so we reached out to a consultant who, after understanding our size and the structure of the school district, recommended partnering and maybe thinking out of the box and partnering with some local restaurants. We are doing that for pizza. There's been efforts made to partner with other local restaurants. I still think there's potential there, and potentially following through can get us some additional purchased food for different days of the week. We only do it that one day of the week, as you know. But the other thing that we were very hopeful about was, as Joe mentioned, partnering with the neighboring district. So we reached out to Lakeland, to Puck Valley, and to Haldane. And Haldane was somewhat interested. We do have a number of partnerships with them, but after a closer analysis, the burden really falls on the district producing the food. There's no real profit in it. It's more work on their staff, on their school district. So I think the intent, they wanted to help, but when they analyzed it, it's too much of a burden on their current model for food service. So we did not get a partner. And with that, we really were at a loss. Joe and I did some analysis, just the staffing that would be needed for a program, and it is quite expensive. And as Jocelyn mentioned earlier, you don't want to do this with American Rescue Plan type grant money. It's something that you would need to budget for. It is doable, but it would be an ongoing annual expense and would certainly operate at a loss. The district would have to subsidize the cost of the lunch program.
We also included in the grant, what we were including, if I recall correctly, was the cashier system in order for kids to pay for the lunch. So you no longer handle prepaid card used to approve. So that was really what that was for, right? It was part of that upgrading the system, implementing that system so that we could have it and then.
Yeah, so the server.
Exact cost is fine.
Yeah, so the server, so you would need at least what we have in this, if not more. If we were gonna do production locally, you probably need to upgrade the stove and some other cooking implements as well. Most of the pieces were to make sure food stayed within the safe temperatures in transit from the manufacturing school to here, as well as potentially heating up some items here. And then, of course, obviously, serving them at the right temperature. So it's a lot of storage boxes and hot and cold boxes, as well as an oven. And the point of sale system is also something that's required. Because one of the things that's very critical with maintaining the school lunch program is that you give a child a fully balanced meal and you have a record of what you gave them and all that. So that's something that's a big piece. And the amount of training and knowledge that's required for a system to operate, to manufacture food, submit your menu and all your menu items to the state which has to approve them. There's a lot of work associated with that, and it takes a level of skill that has a cost. If you figure at best, you're gonna have 50% participation. So you're looking at an average, putting all that cost over on 100 lunches, which really, the math will tell you, you gotta subsidize it a lot to cover the costs of the food and the staffing.
And so basically, we didn't find a partner because they looked at the economics of it and basically said we're such a small district that it doesn't make financial sense for them, right?
The search predates Carl. I
Yeah.
know there was a committee formed, the parents went to Lakeland at one point, toured around, like, when the previous superintendent explored the viability at that point as well. They had the same issue.
Yeah.
Not wanting to use their tax staff
Yeah.
to fund our lunch.
And would we need a full-time kitchen staff if we were to add another volunteer day like pizza day? That's all volunteer, right? Pizza day. So that would be an option. We need to have parents or PTA or somebody.
As long as they follow
offer
the
to do another.
guidelines.
Right.
Right, they have to be trained and certified to be able to handle food.
Yeah.
Services.
It's not that hard. I think it's a great idea for the budget advisory committee to look into that, starting sooner than later.
Maybe put that committee together at the reorg instead of waiting until August and religion committees.
So one more question. Joe, could you just speak to what we use the vans for?
We use the vans for transportation of special education students and regular education students on a daily basis. And sometimes sports, sometimes we use the larger bus for sports too, depends on what sport. And we do anticipate that there are a number of runs next year that if we took on more vehicles would help. And just the reliability of the existing fleet, we think it's more advantageous to have new vehicles sooner rather than later.
What is the cost? It's about 30,000 or?
It's close to 40 for each.
40,000, so it's 40,000 to do a run for 1 year. You
Oh.
go to county transport?
Oh, to do a run for 1 year is like $70,000 for us to hire out. If there's an aid that's required, it's another 40 plus on top of that.
But the van, we still pay the van itself, if it comes in at this price. It's really good.
Yeah. And that's outside of our Orange County contract? Or
Yes.
do they split the drivers for?
No, this is with our own staff.
And Joe, we have, how many of our facilities department also have their driver's license?
It's all three of the daytime staff. Well, and then we have a part-time person that works for us every day as well. So currently we are using 2 of them in daily service now. We have additional requirements next year that are new. So we're still looking at how we're going to staff those requirements. Private school students that we have to drive, and some other students as well.
Any other questions? Do you need anything formal for this?
Nope.
We're good to go. You can move ahead with this change.
Yeah,
Right?
if you're okay with it, I will just,
We're all in agreement, so go ahead and submit it to LCD and.
Yep.
and
yeah, it's just a amendment form that has to be filed. And I'll have Carl sign it and we'll send it out tomorrow.
So, thank you, Joe. I'm gonna go ahead, everyone, and go back to board president remarks, which I skipped in my excitement to talk about when we're gonna post the rework meeting. So my apologies on that. I'm gonna quickly go through. I do have a number of items that I want to call out. The first is we have a list. Thank you, Dusty, for putting this together, and we will publish it, of where our high school seniors are going to attend. Now, this list may change. We still are continuing to reach out, trying to find out things. I know, most people have decided at this point in here. I'm going to go ahead and read this. We have one going to Hunter College, Russell Sage College, Marywood University, American University, SUNY Delhi, Vanderbilt University, SUNY Albany, Springfield College, a student taking a gap year in Norway, and sorry, Courtney and I practiced how to pronounce the program, and unfortunately don't feel I can do it justice, but it'll be published. Yes, it will be published. Sounds like a great program. King's College, Wesleyan University, SUNY Westchester Community College, and SUNY Oneonta. If any parents don't hear one of their seniors' colleges listed and want it, we're going to list it, we're going to publish it, website, please send it in, reach out to Dusty. We'd love to include everyone. We're very proud and congratulate all our seniors at our various high schools for all their accomplishments this year. Which brings me to my next item. The board has been invited, board members have been invited to attend some of these high school graduations. So Dusty sent an email recently. Please let Dusty know if you do wish to attend. The Haldane High School graduation ceremony is scheduled for Saturday, June 15th, and I believe the O'Neill High School graduation is scheduled for Tuesday, June 25th. In the evening. I don't have the date currently for the that thing. And then there are a couple of other activities happening year-end that the board is invited to. Again, in your email from Dusty, but you're welcome to attend pre-K graduation here on June 21st, and we will have our 8th grade graduation on Monday, June 24th. Okay. And then I also have a note from our state senator, Rob Rawlinson, congratulating our district on the Green Ribbon Award. Really appreciate his support for our district, especially the funding that he has fought for our district. And we have this next note. I'll just pass it around. Reading it after. See it? And that is all I have for board president's comments. My apologies for skipping it previously and putting our meeting slightly out of order. I'm going to go ahead now and move to public comment. Public comment is intended for members of the community to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with policy 1510 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrator. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. The board will listen to comments, but will not engage in dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided through the appropriate channel. Members of the public wishing to comment during board meetings are asked to place their name and town of residence on the sign-in sheet. Commenters will be invited to the podium to address the board. Everyone signed up if anyone wants to speak. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. We'll have it again later on if anybody changes their mind. We go ahead and move on to accept the minutes. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby accept the minutes of the regular workshop meeting of May 8th, 2024, and the regular meeting of May 21st, 2024, as presented. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes as presented? Okay. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Next, we have the financial reports. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accepts the treasurer's report and claims audit report for April 2024 as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. And there's reading the claims audit report. I did remember, Dan, I know we want to have our claims auditor come and speak to the audit committee or the full board. Now we will work on that. But do I have any questions on the revenue status report, treasurer's report, appropriation set, any of the reports listed here? I'm going to go ahead and move to approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstention. Thank you. Go on to the CSE CPSE recommendation. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Free School District approve the Committee on Special Education, PSE, and the Committee on Preschool Special Education, the PSE, recommendations and student placement. May I have a motion, please?
You don't have to read all of them.
Dusty said I didn't have to read all the numbers anymore.
There's just so many numbers.
I can if you want me to.
Second.
I have a question. So I see that they're in 23. What is our classification?
This year, I want to say it's about 14%, 15%. I'd have to double check that. Yeah, it's right that range.
Another question? What? We had a second? Great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstention. Move on to policy readings. First up, we have the first reading of policy 1640, absentee military and early mail ballots. I'm going to turn this over to you, Courtney.
Sure. Sorry, going through my notes. I think this one is straightforward. As per usual, yeah, I believe so. That's me. By all means, jump in here. Went through all appropriate channels. We reviewed it. The main thing I'm seeing here is it's updating some language.
The law for the early mail ballots went into effect January 1st. So this came after that. For the law. To update the policy.
Thanks for clarifying. Should I just keep going for all of them?
And yes, we're going to move on to just read the number to me.
Great, okay. Three more. First reading of policy 1320, nomination and election of board officers and duties of the president and vice president. So this one came up because this is a policy that's already in effect, but it has some language that's outdated in that we had limited how many consecutive terms board leadership could serve. We are currently out of compliance, given our sitting president and vice president have been in this chair for a couple of years now. And so we want to, of course, go with our policy. So we're striking the language, the suggestion is to strike the language, the elected officers may serve a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. We wanted to bring it to the board for any feedback on whether that if we should amend that language to note the current situation or just strike it completely.
Well, it's not struck. It just adds a, Courtney,
Am I looking at the wrong notes?
I think in our discussion as we continued in committee, if I remember this correctly, according to my notes, we decided to leave that in and then just add a
Sorry, I'm
line
looking at the wrong one.
that the board in its discretion.
The board may in its discretion elect officers to serve for more than a maximum.
And so that gets determined, I mean, clearly we've already consented. But that gets determined in a reorg when we all vote. Anyway, we don't have to have any special thing, it's just.
Yeah.
But I think
Is
it's
this
part
a
of.
new language? I'm just curious of the genesis of why that was put in.
From when we did the full policy rewrite a couple of years ago, I don't remember what the language was before that, if there was any.
There was a board, there was a policy on board president duties, whatnot, with term limits. There was a desire for the board to have a term, which I'm happy to support.
You're not allowed to.
It was just to make sure that discussion kept coming up of changing over leadership. Some school boards have everybody take a turn as president every year.
We can just,
Obviously, yeah, that hasn't been how it has worked. But it was just simply so that we didn't get stuck with one person automatically assuming the role of president. Sorry, Sarah.
no, I quite enjoy it. I don't mind it. It is really fun. If anybody else wants to turn it, be sincere. I welcome it. I am hopeful. Like you're not returning after June 30th, so yeah, I believe you volunteered to step into the VP role. Did I? And
What? Maybe somebody wants to.
I desperately wanted.
Everybody else wants to know.
I think it's
Happy
great.
to discuss.
I think it'd be great. We voted
But
that.
as for Kelly,
I vote.
is everybody comfortable with this language?
I think so.
This is where I do think it's worth discussing that.
And that makes sense, you have to do it.
Yes, I think it's.
But also the two rules, the 2-year thing came in. Like just
2 years ago,
Yeah.
actually. Because of when we finally got the policy. Right. Done. 3 years maybe. Okay.
All right, moving on to C, first reading of policy 6412, elevated user rights. I'm gonna make sure that I pull up one online and not my notes. This one was reviewed closely by James Yap, and by our attorneys. James, do you want to say anything, explain what this policy is?
The point of the policy is really to,
You want to pause my Thank you, Tim.
the point of the policy is really to have anyone that has elevated rights in any of the business applications or the instructional software to really kind of protect the person themselves, as well as make sure that the rights are put in place the right way. So the reasoning behind it is so that it's not, whether it be a director of technology or in a larger district, a director of special education or anyone else, that they just give themselves the rights under their position and they just take whatever was there before. So this, someone has to sign off. Usually it would be the director of technology, but in some cases it would be the superintendent. So anything that the director of technology gets, the superintendent signs off and somebody else is aware of what rights and what they can and can't do. And especially with some of the rights, they have to get express permission to utilize those rights. So whether it's looking at someone's files or if there's an investigation looking at email, that has to be signed off, and it's not just one person just doing what they're told, but that there's actually a record of everything.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
So
on this
I
policy?
had some comments at our committee meeting that the changes were not made, and one of, I had two concerns. One is that we keep referring to the technology department, which we don't have. And so I think it should say district. My biggest concern is, I believe it's on page 4 and 5 on the third paragraph under the disclaimer, where it says if there's an issue, you're going to report it to the technology department. So if we think of our technology department as Mr. Yap working with the Lyric's a third party. And so I don't think we want people reporting something that happens to the Lyric. That could be reported to them on a Thursday, they come back into the ticket till Friday, it'll work on weekends, we can end up with a. So I would recommend that we go back through this policy and write either district or data privacy officer.
We appoint the data privacy officer
Every year, right? And it's a district employee, so that way we're still keeping the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. We're not letting the third party vendor make any decision about it.
would agree.
I agree, Jim.
And we had discussed that in the committee as well, but.
I know it did go back to our attorneys for review, and I also know that we're one of those unusual schools of being so small, and I think they wanted to keep sort of the general broad language of technology department.
Did we
but
raise that specific question with you?
I believe so, but I think that
Did you raise that specific question about? technology
I
department?
did not, I could follow up. I like your suggestion, but I could double check with Erin unless Courtney. did
no,
you
I think
have-
that makes, I like the data privacy.
It's ultimately, that's the person who has to know who has the rights to all.
Right. All right. So what does this mean for the policy? We hold it,
So
or
I
we
can
consider
go,
this a first reading?
so it is first reading, so I can go through and then make the adjustment if there's areas that we want to change it to data privacy officer, and then again, I'll kick it back to the attorney. again.
I think there's one or two places where it might make sense to say district instead of department. Yeah, instead of technology department, but definitely on page 4 or 5, under the disclaimer, it should say data privacy.
And then can I also share that out with committee? and let you guys know this.
The other,
Those are the first reads, and we've got one of the second read.
all right, second reading and approval of policy 6110, code of ethics for board members and all district personnel. Be resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Courtney McCarthy, Policy Committee Chair, hereby approves policy 6110, code of ethics for board members and all district personnel as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. This is what we talked about last time. Anybody have any questions or further comments before we move to approval? Okay. No, I'm going to go ahead then and move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstention. Very much. Move on to the personnel items. Be it resolved, we're going to start with the approval of consent agenda. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, does hereby approve the items of the personnel consent agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you if we have an extended one on here.
Sure. Yes, there are 3 personnel recommendations.
All excited.
All exciting. The first one is the most exciting. Ms. Jessica Schulman is being recommended for a 2nd grade teaching position this evening. To give you a little background, you may recall from the budget process that we determined that we need 2 sections of kindergarten next year just based on enrollment. So we also have 2 sections, 2nd grade, if that is needed. So it was determined that this new position will be 2nd grade teacher working with Ms. Marge Giuliano, who's here tonight. And who also served on our committee. So we had a good response, about 260 applicants. We did screening interviews with, I believe it was approximately 25 applicants. It was narrowed down to a pool of, I think, 4 or 5 that went through a rigorous committee interview. That pool was narrowed down further, and I believe there were 2 who did demonstration lessons in our 2nd class. And Miss Jessica Schulman emerged as our first choice. She has a very, very strong background. I believe it's about 4 years total in teaching. She worked at the Hackley School early on in her career, the Longridge School in Stamford, Connecticut, so some private school work. And then she made a transition to public education. She did a leave replacement in Yorktown, and is currently in the Goshen District, all elementary teaching experience in a variety of roles, AIS, co-teaching, and classroom teaching. So she has her bachelor's from Manhattanville College and her master's from Pace University, and she's fully certified in general ed, but also special education students with disabilities. Very helpful for us. So she is our choice and our recommendation to the board this evening. The other 2 items, just a standard thing, Nurse Melissa does always require some summer hours where we're requesting 15 hours for her to do some medical records and things to prepare for the opening of school. And the last one was an oversight. Our girls modified coach, Kevin Keegan, who was a teacher here for 30 plus years and a coach for well over 30 years. Maybe we got a little too comfortable. We neglected to get his recommendation on before the season. We're asking you so we can compensate Mr. Keegan. He's fully certified. That is all record. He did really well this season, but we're asking so we can pay him, but it's a retroactive. And those are the 3. Any questions?
I'm going to go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor? Please
Aye.
say
Aye.
Nays? Congratulations and welcome to Garrison. We're thrilled to have you join our team.
I look forward to joining the Garrison community. Very much looking forward to it.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
You don't have to stay for the rest of it. It'll be just fun. All right. Go ahead on to new business. Be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the new business items as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So, second.
Thank you. Carl, are there any you wish to speak to? Most of these are health and welfare, which are required to honor, and then we also have our shared agreement.
Yeah, I'll speak. The first two are pretty standard, and Joe can give you more detail if necessary, but, Haldane, you may recall, we have a partnership of a special class program that is, doing exceptionally well. All four of our students, there are two Garrison and two Haldane students in this program. So we are proposing that we keep the rate the same, as we did last year. We are certainly moving forward into a second year. We also added a clause just to be able to charge Haldane. We do have a half-day summer program for the children. It's a 6-week program. So we added some language so we could bill Haldane and they would share the expense of that summer program. The second shared service agreement is for Haldane to provide CPSE services, which is doing evaluations for us, running the CPSE committee meeting, working with our parents, and then setting up service providers for children who are in preschool. And this is basically the same as last year. Haldane did make one request that we would also compensate them for the prorated expense of FICA, TRS, and ERS for their employees. We thought that was a fair request. We are very, very happy with the services that they provided this past year. It's helpful to us, especially because we do not have a director of special ed here in a small district like Garrison. So this has worked out really well. So we're recommending these two shared services.
I just have a quick question for you. I noticed on one of the documents that it says your interim superintendent, and the other document it says your superintendent. I don't know if that matters for the record, for when they both sign the next.
Okay, we could easily,
The shared
I
services.
think interim, it probably doesn't matter,
I just don't want to have
but I think
to
it's
retroactively have to change it so we can properly count.
yeah. We'll change it to interim to be accurate.
All right, any other questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions. Okay. We'll move to the second public comment section of the evening. I'm not going to read my paragraph again. Does anyone wish to speak? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and move on to board member comment. Jocelyn?
Did anyone go to his mom and everything? Did you?
My kids.
Oh, you did.
I didn't.
Oh my God, I remember going to his mom. And the two first opening minuets, the Bach ones, I remember playing them, and it was very nice to see, and also to realize, oh my God, there is a progression, and it's really wonderful. And it was a shout out to all the 6th graders, which is nice. There's been a 7th or 8th grade, but it was really, yeah. I mean, thanks so much for performing. And it was very nostalgic, nostalgic.
What instruments?
The violin. So it was the for me, yeah.
I don't know if they have that.
Well, it would be his mom.
David?
Jessica, welcome. Carl has an incredible, superb record of hiring people. So that's his approval. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
David, Jennifer?
So first, I would like to thank Mr. Barone and the students. What a wonderful way to start the evening with the student music. And you walking past the beautiful flowers at the front door, and then be greeted by the music. It's really wonderful. I'd like to welcome Barone to the Garrison community. And then I also wanted to thank Haldane for their partnership with both the co-teaching class, the special class, as well as working with us with the CPSE. I think that's very nice to see that partnership. Oh, and finally, I would like to ask that we get some information on our classification.
I can add it.
That would be great.
Thank you. Dan? Brittany?
The only thing I have to say is I will never pass up the opportunity to use the word penultimate. And this meeting is mine, David's, and Carl's, Mr. Albano's penultimate word. I will see you in 2 weeks.
I'll break out your comment, I'll be like, take the last one.
You can't sit the last.
I hope you don't.
Next meeting's gonna be a total party.
Sure.
Everyone should.
Big credit.
But Courtney and I have agreed that we're gonna, watch every single meeting together. We're gonna get together and watch every
Wednesday
single
night.
I heard tomorrow you're gonna be here in the audience.
Popcorn.
Yeah, I get my popcorn and come hang out.
That's it.
Years.
I look very much forward to David's public comment on this.
Yeah.
2 minutes, or is it 2 minutes?
3
3 minutes.
But you know, we can always go back and revise that policy
Yeah.
if he really wants to come and talk to us. There's always room for change.
You gotta have a gavel.
Babble that, I haven't used that in years.
I only had one other thing, Dusty was kind enough to pass out the annual report from Peter Rosie's and Garrison is featured from last year's. In case you don't look through it, I think it's, page 15 and 16.
Oh, this is very nice. Yeah.
And let me proper authorities know that
Good job.
the Garrison board said it did.
We like high quality. That's right, we're also, and that is on our plans in the fall to have them come present to us. Thank you.
That was my fault.
You're done. Welcome, Ms. Schulman. I also want to congratulate Mr. Brown on a wonderful winter concert. It was, or spring, sorry, spring. It was a delight. I really enjoyed it. And I think they did it well. It was so impressive to hear the progression of students from the elementary band up to the middle band. Pleased to your department, the chorus was great as well. And I also like to note that the past few years, the concerts have been incredibly well run. And I think the stage management is a key part of that. So it's so nice to see how the department comes together to really produce the performance. Thank you. That's all I have for tonight. All right, we're gonna go on to executive session. Be resolved, the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby enters into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal counsel. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Next, it's gonna be like total party.
Yeah.
Yeah.